Hello again, this is Fiendish with the Dimension Touring Company for episode 5 of the From the Ground Up video building series. And as you can see, I've done a little bit more to this since the last time we were here. I've put some edging around the base of the castle, or the folly. I've cut out holes for the windows. And I've started making some doors and windows here. And they're all arched. And tonight we're going to go over how to make these arches. Now the double thickness of the entry here and this arched facade, or the curved facade, really made the door and this front window very item intensive. I had to go 3 layers deep here on the entry, and since I went slightly higher, slightly larger on the building block size for this upper window, I've done a double layer. Now I have my favorite light embedded up in this arch, and it's the ever-glowing pagoda lantern. Right now these are very cheap off the auction house. Normally they're not so cheap, but I'm using that because I really like the illumination that it casts around this window. And I like the color of the light, that very warm shade that goes well with just about everything. Now all these cutouts are very rough. As you can see, not all the building block thicknesses are the same. And it looks like we've got some stuff poking through here from our ceiling. Boop. And that took care of that. And then we'll take care of it here too. And I've got a cutout here for the stairwell to be added. I'm still working on those stairs and trying to get them to line up doorway to doorway, so we won't be doing the stairs tonight. So let's talk about the choice of the dwarven walls here to edge this castle building. They provide a good contrast to the limestone, and it takes a minimum of pieces to go all the way around. On these straight walls, all you need is one piece to go around the bases of these towers. It's 8 pieces plus 1 final corner post to finish it off. It matches the tower toppers, and it just adds a nice contrast and texture. I've also started embellishing, playing with some embellishment here for the structure itself. And these are all Stillmore music boxes. I've changed out the music box to Stillmore. The way music boxes work is a lot like sky projectors work. The last one you place overrides everything that's already in here. I want my music consistent, so they're all Stillmore boxes. So let's go ahead and get started with these arches. Like I've said before, once I make one, I like to have a template of that size. So I've already saved this window right here as its own set. But we'll go into how we make that window right now. I'm going to start with a plain wood cube, and you can use whatever kind of material you want. I like plain wood just because it's a good foundational material, and I'm probably going to stick with it for this build just because it makes a nice contrast against the white of the limestone, and it adds a little bit more of an authentic rustic feeling. This flicker right here is starting to drive me crazy. So let's just go ahead and do a relative movement and make that flicker stop. So you have a cube at your default placement. These are at size 0.8 because these are some rather large cutouts on these tower walls. Now you can see when you look through here that there's all kinds of ugliness going on inside. That's why we're using the pre-made windows here instead of leaving them open and doing some kind of other design to try to save item limit by blocking these towers off with making them seem like they're actually open. So we're going to offset here by 0.1 0.001 in the Z, and that's so that we can be even side to side and we won't have that flicker. We're going to rotate also in the roll. Okay, so we fixed our toolbox error. We're going to offset in the roll by another 15 degrees. For arches, I like 15 degrees. You can set the angle of your arch however much you want to. 15 degrees adds a nice curve without making it too blocky and without using up a lot of items like, say, a 10-degree curve or a 5-degree curve would. So we're going to copy it, offset here in the Z and the roll, and then paste. Again, you're going to individually copy each block as it goes in position, and then make manual adjustments with each curve, each piece as you go. And you'll do this all the way around until you come to a stop at 180. Okay, I've just placed the last cube. A rounded arch like this takes 13 items, all in cubes, all in a 15-degree angle. Now I didn't go over this one to make sure that everything was perfectly lined up, because this is just an example piece. But here, unlike with a curved surface like this facade, you won't run into any errors when you're coming off the 90-degree mark. There you go. Just like that, it would line up into position. Well, this is great for a rounded arch, but all these, with the exception of the door arch, are slightly steeper. The top arch is just 75 degrees, which means you pull out the centerpiece that's set to 90. Select all of one leg. It doesn't matter which side you pick. And then line those into position. And now you've got an arch with a slight point at the top. Now this one here that's actually got this window here that's using the pre-made is on a 60 degree. And to get that, you take the two 75-degree pieces out, select all of these, push those in, and now you have a very pronounced point. And adjust those to where they're lined up, and that's it. And making every arch is the same principle as that, no matter which way it goes. This is also how you make circles. Yeah, circle, any kind of circle follows the same format. And there, if I want to say make a closed circle instead of rotating in the roll, I'll rotate in the yaw and follow same procedure. To make a full circle with 15-degree curve, it's 24 items. To make one with a 10-degree curve, it's 36. So now we've made that, let's go ahead and place this window. Now the legs of the window are planks. That's because I could keep going with cubes all the way down and staying with this nice texture, but I estimated that it would be 36 to 38 cubes to cover the whole thing. So we're going to use planks just like we did here on this door and just like we did on this window up here. It's a great way to save items once you start getting low, is pull those cubes out. Especially here, you don't need the cubes that are straight up and down. You can use planks to take that spot. So let's find this window. Alright, I found the window. Let's see what the set requires. 10 wood cubes. Now, since we're not worried about the inside here, we're actually going to save some pieces because we don't have to worry about making a full frame like we did on this open window upstairs and like we will on these windows back here. This torch here marks the position of my hearth. It's where the fireplace is going to go. And there's a small window here, a large picture window here, and then some more windows over here. And those windows extend upstairs as well, using planks to make the cutouts. So this set also requires 10 wood planks. And 2 teardrop windows. As you can see, I've been stocking up on teardrop windows because right now they're cheap, and these teardrop windows are great multi-purpose items. I like to use those for making furniture, making windows, making patterned windows, and any kind of design. Go ahead and select everything. Load at original location. When I pulled out the rectangles, I pulled them out from the same spot on both sides. So in theory, this is just going to line right up. But as you can see, it's not. So here's a very easy way to take care of this, and that would be to patch it with some planks. And I want to do a very small incremental movement. Whoa. That was way too. Alright. Very small incremental movement so I don't have a really obvious seam, so that I don't have a lot of flicker here either. Limestone is really bad about flickering, and we want to try to avoid that. Now I can just copy this plank, paste this one, slide it over, and now there's no hole, and we have a window in place. These windows are manually sized, not quite to maximum size, and just copy and paste one to the other so that they're inset from the frame, they don't poke through the tower. There we go. And there's that nice little pattern in the window to kind of make it look like authentic stained glass. Now I've got the other two cutouts on the sides. And so we're going to load the same set again. Alright, going to load the set at the original location. I'm going to slide it this way. And manually rotate it. If I know I'm going to use this set many times, facing multiple directions, then I would make this set over again from scratch and save it as its own set. But usually with windows and things like that, I like to be distinctive each time. So I line it up by hand, and that's pretty darn close. Get it as centered as possible, and raise it up into position. Take a look at it again from down here. And you can see it's pretty darn close. I guess at this point, perhaps I've built enough dimensions that I can actually line up stuff straight by hand now. Try to clean up that underside that you can't see on the lower windows. And then with the same size plank, but we only need it to rotate in the 90 this time. Patch this hole and do an incremental movement in the X. Copy and paste. And now we have some passable stained glass windows. And if I want to throw a light back here, that's not a light. If I want to throw a light back here, now I've got one. And then I can play around with these lights and see which distance, height, distance and height give me the effect that I like the best. Or I cannot use a red light. I actually do like the orange lights and the warm lights. Only thing is the smalls don't really provide enough illumination. So let's try a medium and see how that works. It needs to be a little closer to the window than the large lights, but it does work. Or I can scrap that and put in another pagoda lantern, which doesn't really cast a lot of light onto the limestone itself. It creates interesting textures by what it's illuminating above that. Light is one of those things that you really just you really need to experiment with to use it effectively for what you want. So we'll just not mess with that right now. We'll try to get the rest of the structure done. So let's load this setup again so we can get the other side. Right, I've got it loaded. Bring it over here. Do just like we did on the other side. In this instance, I'm using the limestone tower to gauge how close I am to being exact. Whee! And that's off. for things like windows, I do want to be as close as possible to straight. Just because windows are something that, you know, people pay attention to. Well, I don't know about other people. I know I pay attention to them when I visit other dimensions, especially ones where I've seen that people have actually made their own windows instead of just using a modular window and calling it good. There's nothing wrong, of course, with using modular windows. That's what they're there for. And they're great ways to save on some items. Push that in a little bit more. Get it positioned. Making sure to position this so that that rectangle isn't poking out the bottom of the arch. And we need to go in and clean this up again. Being able to view things from all angles gives you a good opportunity to see where your mistakes are. Like this one. And then I want that plank again. I'm just copying the planks that I've already put down because they're a good size. And that way I don't have to fidget and try to guess and adjust with each one. Of course, I could just punch in the number and scale a new plank, but doing a Control D works just as well also. And then copy, paste, and slide that over. Limestone is also really bad about seaming. The seams here, where you join your pieces at, they're almost impossible to avoid. It's one of the things that I really dislike about limestone, even though plain white building blocks are very, very handy to have. So now, we're not going to waste any time. We're going to get straight into setting this thing here. We want to go 45. Now when you have something that has an object at one end, like these dwarven walls here with the post on one corner, you can't very easily make a set here, because then not only do I have to line it up with this tower, I've got to turn it to where it's mirroring what's over here. And a lot of this stuff doesn't mirror well. So with some things, it's easier just to make it over again. The one thing I can get from the original tower, though, is the sizing, so I don't have to resize everything. And I can either use that to scale my new piece, or I can, just do a Control D. As you can see, Toolbox is being very picky tonight. You can try just doing a 45. But a lot of times that won't work out so well. And for these also, you can do a copy and paste so that the height is set right every time. I usually just don't even worry about it with these. Because they're easy enough to line up and get pretty close by hand. But for rotations, I do want the accuracy that the add-on provides. down here. Doesn't really matter about the height or the positioning of the wall, the corner piece, because this one here is set so much larger than this. So there's that. Now that just leaves this one, and it's considerably larger. This is set at 1.3. Anytime you have a straight surface to work off of, it's very easy to use that to line up on. And slide that in. One piece detailing is very welcome here. In the long run, it's not really going to matter that they're not exactly the same size. Reset the positioning there. On this one, do need to be a little bit finicky about how much of these dwarven walls are sticking on the inside, because that tower for now is open. The smallest number of stairs I've been able to get on the spiral staircase in a tower was 35. Those are items that could be used more appropriately in other areas. So there may be another PvP banner going on that stairwell to get back down from the tower, and then we'd save, or to get back down from the second floor, and we'd save a considerable amount of items. Because it's always about what you want to do versus what your item limit is. And 2520 seems like a lot, and it is, until you're trying to do something detailed, and then 2520 just isn't that much. We'd really like to have more than just a couple rooms open for viewers or people to visit, because it can be as pretty as it wants to be on the inside and outside, but if there's only 2 or 3 rooms open, then it's small and it's not really that exciting. Oh no. Okay, so there's our last piece. And it actually all lined up pretty well. So my initial plan right now is not to add any windows to these back towers. It's pretty doubtful that there's going to be too many people running back here looking for windows. And off the floor plan that I have currently worked out, there wouldn't really be any public rooms back here anyways. Currently this is the sitting area with the dining room around here. Kitchen in back. Kitchen may move in here. As you can see, I've got some cleaning up to do in here. Let's go upstairs. Whoa. Alright. Master suite right here. This is a very large bedroom. That's okay, because we're going to use up most of this space, and it helps that we have some rather large windows dominating the area. Bathroom right around in here, with the curving hallway that would lead to the spiral staircase here. which already has an entry cut out and a landing made for the stairs. Now if we end up closing this off to where we basically just use the lower piece for a kitchen, we will actually save a ton of items, because then we can drop these tiles here that are making up the ceiling of this tower and pretty much put one piece right here to seal this door back off and pick the rest of it up. We'll need to add planks here, 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 and these two here to make them level with the rectangles that are still on the first floor. That'll need to get filled in here, and this may get filled in as well, because I don't know, I don't normally have bathroom windows. And possibly a piece of a frame put here so that this is not just a window into anywhere, or that you could whoop, fall right out of. These are pretty high set windows down here because of the height of the dwarven wall. So we've got some challenges built in. That's not good. Throughout the course of the build, especially when you don't have a lot of leeway here for false walls and false floors, there is a lot of running around outside and inside to see what's poking out, to make sure that nothing is sticking out. So this just needs to be resized. Good thing about not filling the windows in yet is you can just jump in that way and save some time running around. So there's that, and then now it needs to be a little bit bigger. And there we go. So we'll do, on the next episode, we'll do the rest of these windows. I'll go ahead and even out the interior walls. And hopefully we'll be able to finish up our exterior landscaping so that then we can hop inside and start with the furniture morphing. Until next time, this is Fiendish with the Dimension Touring Company. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you again. Good night.